All right, what we're going to build today is a student project from Murox .NET Core MVC 2nd edition, Project 6.1. We're in Chapter 6. We're building the FAQs application. Now, really this is going to be a practice a little bit more with routing. And so, this is going to be a data-driven app, meaning it's going to have a database where we're storing our FAQs. There's going to be multiple tables, as you will see, and then basically, to me, this is very similar to like an accordion of data, where like depending on the heading or the link that you click, you see different topics or different categories, and so if you have the PDF, of course, you want to read all the specifications. Where we're going to talk about an FAQ model class, a topic and a category model classes, etc., etc. But, this is kind of the endpoint of what we're building. And so you can kind of see the landing page, the home page has all the topics and all the categories essentially unfiltered. And then depending on what you click on, up at the top, we've got a nav bar here. We're with different topics, topic being whatever your topic is. These topics happen to be Bootstrap, C#, JavaScript. When you click a topic, you can see essentially it performs a filter by the topic. And so you can kind of follow the route, of course, the home index method. But then we've got a /topic/boot. And if I change topics, notice home index topic CS, home index topic JS. So we got topics going across the top. Excuse me. If I look at the side, these are our categories. And so notice if I just click the sidebar, I get category general and category history. But what's even a little bit more of a filter is you could say, okay, I got Bootstrap and general. And so now the URL takes me to topic boot /category gen or topic boot category hist. Okay, so this is definitely more to do with routing than we've done so far in this book. And so I wanted to kind of do this one together, understanding that you've had a lecture on routing yesterday, but it would be useful to kind of do a code along. And if you click this all FAQs, it just takes you home to localhost. Okay, so again, I recommend taking a few minutes here and just reading the requirements of 6.1. And so here's the page full of requirements. And so just take a minute before we get started and read these for me so that we can all be familiar with what we're building. So a couple requirements that I want to highlight. Right here, the topic and category model classes should have primary keys that are strings, right? So normally primary keys, we make them integers, but the benefit of making them as strings is that they can make user-friendly URLs. And so when I'm looking at this, we could take the primary key, which is my topic of Bootstrap, these would be better than /topic/1, right? Putting strings up in the URL. So you can imagine this could be topic 1, topic 2, and topic 3, but instead we made the primary key strings to make that URL a little bit more friendly. So that's one requirement that kind of sticks out to me. We are going to use some static segments to get /topic/category And so you notice these segments of the routes are static, they're not dynamic, whereas these segments are obviously dynamic, they're changing. And so, other than that, we just have a Bootstrap page with like a nav bar and a list on the side. Okay. So we'll go ahead and start coding this now that we have the kind of the requirements under our belt. And I'm going to start by creating a new project. You can create this wherever you like on your computer. I'm just going to use the default source repos directory. I'm just going to call this FAQs. And then class demo will be my project name. And the defaults here are fine. This configure for HTTPS, you might have to click yes, I agree. I'm just going to leave that checked. I've seen that cause some problems along the way. If I just boot this up right away and just see the default template, and I'm going to say yes to all the security prompts. That will hopefully I might have to agree later. So good. We're all good here. Just default template. I'm going to close down the working app. Open up Solution Explorer. And back to the requirements. You can see that we have a topic and a model class that have primary keys that are strings. Use primary key values that will be user friendly. So let's start by creating some models. You can see we're going to have a topic model and a category model. And so we're going to go inside our models folder and add a class called topic. And these are going to be pretty basic. It said it should be a string, the primary key. So I'm going to do public string topic ID and kind of set up a default of empty string. You could do empty string or you could do string.empty. Potato, potato. And we'll have a topic name, public string name. And again, remembering our topics go across the top nav bar. And so a topic ID of boot for Bootstrap. So that's really all, those are the only two fields about a topic. Again, the topic ID would be boot. The name would be Bootstrap, right? The full name and kind of the abbreviated name, if you will. And so we have 3 topics that we need to store, and those are the only 2 fields that are really relevant for us. And so topic is a pretty simple model, and category isn't much different. And so let's go ahead and make a category. Add another class called category. And fill in our category ID and our category name. This was the sidebar. The sidebar was general and history, I think were the 2 categories. Yeah, general and history. So I'll show that for a second. All right, the next model that you can see that's outlined here is the FAQ model. Okay, so what is a frequently asked question? Well, it explains it is a model that has a primary key generated by the database. So that's going to be an integer, called FAQ ID, or you could just call it, the ID, and that's fine as well. So FAQ should have its primary key generated by the database. It should have foreign key fields that relate it to topic and category. So FAQs have a one-to-one relationship with both the topic model and the category model. But if you kind of look at an FAQ is, well, what is the question and what is the answer? And so when I'm thinking about the fields of my model, those are the fields that I'm going to be looking at. A primary key, some foreign keys, a question, and an answer. And that should cover our bases for our FAQ class. So let's go ahead and make our next model. Add a class called FAQ. So pretty much right. I'm definitely going to make some changes here. But we have an ID. I'm going to make this an int. And I'm going to take off the default there. Now, you could call it FAQ ID, that's fine. We're going to have a question, which is a string. We're going to have an answer, which is a string. We're going to have a foreign key. Foreign key for our category. I also want to bring in a public category called category, which is our navigation property. And what we'll do is we'll set it up to nullable, semicolon. And we'll have a navigation property for our topic. Albeit, I'm not sure if we'll use those navigation properties in our controllers or not. We'll see if we do, but I'm going to set them up just in case. All right. Now I want to start doing some entity framework work to actually get to the point where we can create a database with our model first approach, or code first approach. And so we needed to install those dependencies. So I'm going to go to the package manager for the solution. I'm going to browse. I'm going to search for Microsoft Entity Framework Core SQL Server. And click to install that dependency. Get the green check mark on the Entity Framework Core SQL Server. Let me clear that. Microsoft Entity Framework Core Tools is the other one that we need. And let's click on install. Let's accept and get the green check mark. And if I browse over to installed, sometimes you got to refresh, clear. That doesn't really work very well. Let's go back in just to see that they're both installed. There you go. Sometimes you got to close the window and reopen it to see that our dependencies are installed. And now we can make our context class. Our context class, as we know, is going to be used to kind of be the middleman between the database and our C# code. And it's also where we're going to seed our database data. And so let's make a class, add a class, and I'll call this my FAQs context. The main thing here is it needs to inherit from a DB context class inside of Entity Framework Core. So you got to bring in the package Entity Framework Core that will allow us to inherit from DB context. And I need to, at this point, bring in a constructor, so public FAQs. So here's our constructor that passes our options up to the parent. And these are our three tables: the FAQs table, the categories table, topics table. Okay, now we can start with our seed data, and our seed data is going to be inside of a method, protected method, override void on model creating, model builder, model builder entity and so it's very clear to me that my Copilot has found this solution online, or a solution. I don't know that it's exactly what we'll build, but it's pretty doggone similar, because if I look at the categories, doesn't match the lab exactly, but we've got some categories. Now I'm going to change this to be more in line with the what's in the docs. Yeah. It was, so I'm gonna, you're right. So these are, I'm not gonna stick with these category IDs. So, we had general and history. So I'm gonna change this to gen for general and hist for history. And I'm just going to have those two for our seed data. Now these topics are the topics up at the top, and I'm okay changing maybe the topics at the top. Okay, so let's add some FAQs. And bless you. New FAQ. So our first topic is ASP.NET Core. Our first FAQ, if we kind of line this up. This is a general ASP got an extra curly here. There we go. If you chop the answer off it, ASP.NET Core is a free open source web framework. You don't got to type in the whole thing, but the next generation of ASP.NET developed by Microsoft. And then new FAQ. Instead of going into Blazor, I'll go into a history on when was ASP.NET Core released. Of course, our category ID is history. Topic is ASP. All right, next. So that was our first topic, hitting one category for each. So I'll do the next one for the next two. Right, Blazor, I'll do one for each category, and I'll do Entity Framework, one for each category. So topic ID is Blazor. So our next FAQ, new FAQ. Blazor is a free open source web framework that enables developers to create interfaces using C# and HTML. It's being developed by Microsoft. General. Topic ID is Blazor. When was Blazor released? Category ID is history. Topic Blazor. See, when you get AI, when AI answers the question wrong 50% of the time, Blazor was released on what now? May 14th, 2020. How about it? That's like right when COVID hit, yeah? May 2020, sound about right? Topic ID is Blazor. All right, we're gonna do 6 FAQs. The next one around Entity Framework. What is Entity Framework? An ORM category general, topic EF, and when was it released? We'll double check my numbers here, but that'll be my last FAQ. And let's see. The year is correct, the month seemed wrong?
It doesn't have a month.
Oh.
It's August 11th.
Okay. All right, so those are 6 FAQs. Yeah, let me zoom out just for the rest of this so you could see.
You can also copy these onto the Discord.
Sure.
Because there's no way in hell any of us are seeing that.
Wow.
Okay, so just fact checking ourselves here. June 7th, 2016 was ASP.NET Core. And so those are our 6 FAQs.
Sorry, actually.
No, that's good. Okay, let's zoom back in. 150. And what we need to do next is make our connection string to the database and link that connection string. So we make our connection string here in app settings JSON, and then we link that connection string in our program CS. And so go ahead and open up app settings JSON, and let's put a comma after allowed hosts. Connection strings object. And what's our context file called? This is the name of our connection string. So I'll just call this FAQ connection string. This is just the name of our connection string. I like to copy and paste my server identifier. So if you open up SQL Server and rename, don't actually rename this, but you can copy the name of local DB here and then paste that, and it actually appends a second slash for you, which is awesome. Put a semicolon here, not a comma. I've made that mistake before. Here's where we give our database a name. I'll call this FAQs. Trusted connection. True. And multiple active result sets. Lots of room for typos here. I'll zoom out just a tid so that you can see that, and I'll double check my spelling. Okay, so now that we've defined a connection string, we have to point our program CS at this connection string. So remember, FAQs CS is the name of our connection string. Let's open up program CS. And let's point at that connection string. So after this line, adding controllers with views, we're going to say builder services. We need to bring in Entity Framework Core. So up at the top, using Microsoft Entity Framework Core. Builder.services.add DB context. Now our context file is called the FAQs context, and this is in our models. So we need to bring in the models. So by clicking this, it's going to add a using statement up at the top for class demo.models. Options, arrow, options dot use SQL Server builder configuration get connection string, and the name of our connection string, we called our connection string what? We called our connection FAQs CS. So you have to name your connection string and then put that in the string for get connection string. All right, now that we've got our connection string and our contexts, everything lined up, we are ready to create the database. We're going to do that by running a couple of package manager console commands to add a migration. And I'll just call this DB creation. And there's a high likelihood that there are errors in this process. If you've made any errors along the way, now no errors here. It created my migration file to create some tables. And once the tables are created, they've got primary and foreign keys, and we're inserting some data. And so that looks all good to me. And so after glancing at that file, let's run an update database command. And keep in mind my database name was FAQs with the lowercase s. And I point that out because I've got two databases, one called without the s and one with the s. But the s is the one that I just created. And if I look at my tables, I should be able to view my data for my FAQs, of course, for my topics, bear with me, and my categories. So there we go, there we go, there we go. So our database is created and we're ready to move off the back end. I'll come around and help you guys out. Okay, so now that we've got all of this in a database, let's close all our tabs. And my next thought is to just get all of everything into the home view, and then we can start worrying about routes and filtering, like once we get the data on the page. So like my next step is to take a look at the home controller and change this so that we just get the data out of the database and send it into the view. And so we can delete this, delete the privacy and the error stuff. And let's bring in Entity Framework Core and our models. We got our models. So using Microsoft Entity Framework Core. And we should have our models here. Because we have our models, we can bring in our FAQs context. So we'll say private FAQs context called context. Remember, this is our link between the C# code and the database, this variable called context. And remember, to initialize this variable, we need to have that what's called dependency injection in the constructor. So public home controller and we set context equal to CTX. So initialize our property inside of the constructor. And that, at a minimum, we should be able to say let's see what this line is. Var FAQs context dot FAQs, including the category I don't know that we need these includes here, but let's bring them in. Bring in all our FAQs, including their categories and their topics. Order by, sure, we can order by the question, convert it to a list, and then send those FAQs into the view. Which really, this should be a list of type FAQ. That should resolve, but you could also just use var. Well, if you knew the data type, this should be a list of FAQ. And that should be the correct data type here for what our context returns. But just to be a little bit more lenient, you could just say VAR and not worry about the data type. So now that we're kind of doing like a select star out of the FAQs table with this link query right here, we should be able to, now we're sending that to the view, and let's go to our home controller view index CSHTML. And okay, so let's kind of delete this. Our title for the page, FAQs. Let's give it a strongly typed model. And let's go ahead and throw out a div class of call, a bootstrap div, a list group for each FAQ. Connor?
Is doing the list FAQ up top the same thing as like the option because we know where we want them to be, as opposed to just doing FAQ?
One more time.
When we do at model list FAQ, is that similar to what you said? Like we could do that, or we could just do list like at model FAQ? Like we just grab the model of the context itself.
You want it to be a list because you know multiple are coming in.
Okay, so if we have multiple tables that are coming in.
Yeah, do a list. Yeah, you want it to be a list. So let's look at this for each loop. For each var FAQ, you could say again, this is for each FAQ data type in our model, which is our strongly typed model.
You're missing the closing tag for your list.
Thank you. Close the UL. And we can format this how we want. Let's just print out the li FAQ dot. Let's see if we can get. Oh, we got to do at. Don't forget the at razor syntax. FAQ dot question and this is going to be really ugly, but we'll just throw the question on a list item, and we'll throw the answer in another list item, just to get the data out there. Connor?
Should we make this list group item?
Yeah, we need to style it correctly. Yeah, I'm just really raw getting it on the page.
Okay.
Is the objective. And there you can see we're at least getting our FAQs onto the page. So we're off to a start. Okay, now to Connor's point, our list items can have a bootstrap class of list group item. So maybe to style this a little bit differently, li class list group item. And you can throw some divs in here. So I'll throw 2 divs with classes of row. Div class of row. And a span tag inside of here. Just to make this bold, let's go to get Bootstrap docs real quick and FW/bold, thank you. So class of FW/bold, thank you. We could do that. So now we at least get these on different rows and they're bold. And they got some li class on them. So it's starting to look appropriate. No, maybe I'll just make the question bold and the answer not. Not important part of the lab, but we'll do that. Hot reload, there we go. Of course, we need our nav bar, which is where we start getting into the routing. And so this is where we want to be, and now we're going to start getting into the new stuff, the new routing. Okay, if I think back about the you know, what we need to create, you know, we got this nav bar up at the top, and we essentially have another one on the left, and we got topics on the top, and then we got categories on the left, and so my brain says just do one at a time. And so, you know, to create, you know, a nav bar of topics, and therefore we need to enable that route to begin to filter by the topics. And so in order to do that, we need to, on our home controller, we need to add an optional topic. And so now this will be an additional parameter in our route for just that. And it's obviously optional, so it's not always going to be there, but it can be there. Okay, and so as we learned, we need to add some routing to our program CS to allow this variable called topic. And so we have a very similar route right now that's the default route that is right here, where we have an ID, but we don't have a variable called topic. And so I want to add a route, map controller route, and this is semicolon at the end, name of topic, and the pattern will be controller home slash action index slash topic, that's the static part, and then the optional topic string and I got an extra here. So now if they hit this URL, all right, it should pass in a string topic here, which of course then we can use our link query to filter if there's a topic. Okay, so to start testing this, I'm going to put in a breakpoint. Yeah, Max, what's up? Yep. Okay, so I was at the point where I wanted to test this and make sure that I can pass a topic in using my new route. So I'm going to launch. And obviously I have to change my spinning a little bit because I'm hitting the debug for the first time. Oh, hit my FAQs. I should just be able to continue. Loads the page. Now if I go slash home slash index slash topic slash BLZ for Blazor, you can hover your variable called topic and you can see that it did pass in the variable Blazor. So it is using my new route, and that's what I wanted, so that I can now begin to customize my home controller using that route. Connor? Sure. Okay, so we took a little break. Now we're back. What we need to do is filter these topics. If there's a topic, we need to filter by the topic. And so, you know, this is essentially, if you remember your SQL, this is selecting star, right? Give me everything out of the FAQs table, including all the navigation properties on topics and categories, and order it sorting. Order by is a sort, but we don't have a where clause. And so we can write a little if statement. If topic is not null, another way of writing that, if string is null or empty, right? So if the string is null or empty, hold on, I don't want to do that. If the string is not null or empty, in other words, if there's a topic, then we could take our FAQs, which is basically all of them, and filter, say where FAQs equals, let's see this, FAQs equals the FAQs where the topic name equals topic. And so going back to our, I saved and it wanted to compile that big old window. I think this will work. So are we sending in the topic name? No, we're not sending in the topic name. We're sending in the, let's go back here. I know, Okay, so I got to fix this. Let's go back to this. Topic JS. Well, the name is JavaScript. The topic ID is what we're sending in the URL, right? So I don't want to filter. This is the topic ID, and I don't want to return. Okay, hold on. What are you doing? Get this out of here. And this, I think, is in its current state is breaking, and I can explain why. If we kind of take a look at it here, nope, not breaking. Okay. So again, pretty simple filter. If you stop and think, basically if they provide a topic, then we add this line of code where we filter our facts, where the topic name equals the topic that's passed in from the URL, put it into a list, and yes, sir.
Why did you not need a, sorry, I was thinking about it. Why did you not need an else statement in there?
That was just auto-filled, and it took me back to topic name. This needs to be topic ID. That else, so there is no else, because right now this is giving me all the topics, and then if there's a topic provided via the URL, then we filter it. Otherwise, we don't filter it, and then we just return what's left. And so there's just no else needed. Now, if I save this, and let's see, as I run it, it should still give me all the topics, and it is. But if I hit that route, home, index, topic, and I want to say BLZ, you could see if I navigate there, it's giving me my Blazor topics. Connor?
I'm getting an object reference not set to an instance of
All right. All right, awesome. So we did a little bit of routing here. Of course, the last piece of this, right, now that we got, really, there's been a couple of pieces. Piece number one on the routing was to set up our own, a new route for our application to use. Piece number two was to say, hey, if they hit that route, how do you change the data that's going to be sent into the view? So we added this where clause. But then piece really three, no one's going to manually type anything. Of course, you need to provide that link for them to click on in the view. So we need to build out a nav bar here back in our view, where we're basically getting that nav bar across the top, so they don't have to manually type this out. Instead, we could see a nav bar that says all FAQs along with those links. And so time to build out the nav bar. And let's see. I got this backwards in my head. I've got a call on the outside, and I've got rows on the inside. So I don't think I might have to change this. So I'm gonna set my nav bar inside of a row. That doesn't look right to me at all. But okay, div class of row. Okay, and this is where our nav bar is gonna go, right here. And but they wanted a certain kind of nav bar, and so let's go to the docs. Get bootstrap docs nav bar. And they got these tabs, I think is what they're called.
I think we'll do that in tabs underneath nav.
Nav bar and tabs. Thank you. Something like this. There we go. Thank you. I think this is what they're looking for. Don't they ask for a nav bar with tabs? So the class of nav and nav tabs. Let's just copy this nav bar and paste that in to our row. What is it? Control A, Control K, KF for formatting? Yeah. Okay. So we don't need a disabled one. In fact, we don't need... so my first link, and I'm gonna change these nav items. This first nav item I'll keep. I don't know if I'm gonna mark it as active, but the URL will just take me home. And this is the one that says all FAQs. And it takes me to the home route, and that's cool. And we can get this maybe centered or whatever we want to do. Nav fill maybe. Styling of it is not going to take priority here. I'm going to focus on functionality. Then we can always tweak it and make it pretty. Yes. Oh, no. No question. Now, what I want to do is I want to loop over my topics and have each topic generate a link, right? That way, if you add a topic later on, this is a dynamic nav bar and you can have more topics. And so, of course, in order to get the topics, do we have the topics? And right now, we are including the topics here of our FAQs, but that might not be all topics. You know, notice here we might be actually filtering our FAQs down. Therefore, you might not get all topics here. So let's go ahead and put our topics in view bag. View bag topics. Let's go ahead and load up our topics inside of view bag. And we're getting our topic, we're ordering it by the topic name. That's fine. And then this will allow us to loop over our topics inside of our view and print it out. This is kind of selecting all the facts, selecting all the topics. And then here, instead of just a hard-coded LI, I'll keep one of these here for my own visual. I'll kind of comment this out and come back to this. Hotkey Control K, Control C for a razor comment. Let's do it at for each topic in view bag topics. Now let's put a curly here and close my A, close my LI. I got to get the right classes on all this. So the class is nav item. The class is nav link. Nav item, nav link. Now, this is actually forming this. This is a new helper tag that we haven't covered yet, and so this is a little bit new. I'm gonna anchor tag ASP action. We know what that helper tag is. We know that this is a Bootstrap nav link. And ASP route hyphen topic. Now this is not autofill. In other words, you know, none of this, like none of these autofills are going to be ASP route hyphen topic. And I'll explain at T topic ID at T dot name. So because we have an ASP route variable called topic, this piece right here is a link helper that you can dynamically generate the name based on your route. We have a route variable called topic. And so it's just really interesting that this helper, let's boot this up and let me show you the end result of where that link will navigate to. If I got this coded correctly, you can see the topic names. Now look at the lower left-hand corner of my screen where it says 45 and sunny. Notice it is putting that in its proper location. ASP.NET Core / topic ASP, Blazor is / topic / BLZ, and Entity Framework is topic EF. And so this is something that we didn't cover in yesterday's theory, that this is like a dynamically named variable that works because of our pattern. The convention is that that variable name has to match that helper tag name. If you don't call it the same thing, like watch, if we call it ASP route shirt, right? Watch how you get very different behavior. It actually puts the variable shirt equals ASP inside of a query string after / topic shirt ASP. So you get different behavior. And so this is one, again, kind of keeping that route topic. Drew, you had a question?
No, you answered it.
Okay. Yeah, it is very specific to what can come behind here. It has to be one of those variables that you're accepting in your path here. I find this is something I've done a couple times. I still find it kind of weird how this is generating. And again, there's a lot of behind the scenes. Like, where did / topic even come from? I mean, again, if I put the word shirt here, not if I put the word shirt here, I still have / topic in my link, right? I see shirt and I see topic. And so I'm getting some behavior here where this helper tag is getting me / topic question mark. So that / topic is convention. That's happening. That's happening automatically for me. And maybe it's because I'm looping through topics. But point is, there's some automatic Okay, so change that back to topic, hot reload. Now /topic ASP, there you go, Blazor, and all FAQs. We hit the home route, and we are making progress. This is definitely something that takes me a little bit of getting used to. Okay, now that we got our topics kind of going, we also need to filter by categories. And so we've got this string topic. Let's maybe bring in a string category and spell string correctly. Back on our controller. And we're going to write a similar if statement. If the category is not null or empty, let's filter by the category ID. And so we're not really playing, well, we're starting to play together, play nice together, categories and topics, but there's actually a couple of routes that we need to create. Of course, the most similar would be to create another one for category. And so if you go back to program CS and, okay, we got a topic, literally it's the same code, but we're just going to change the words topic to category. So this is my category route, category, category. And so this allows us to filter by topics exclusively and categories exclusively. Of course, they also need to play nice together, of which we're going to do that as well. So kind of get the route set up and then get the method to handle the category. And then we'll debug it and step forward. So I want to put in a breakpoint back on my home controller. I want to boot it up in break mode, and I'm going to pass in a category. Let me hit continue, and that should give me everything. And if I say /home/category/ HI, is it gen for general? All right, let's see. Oh, home index, home/index. Okay, you can see that gen is coming in, topic is null. So if I step over that, that's getting everything. Step over that. Of course, this if statement is false, so it skips over it. This if statement is true, so it hits it. And these are the general versus, I forget if it's HIS or HIST. And it must have been HIST. There you go. Now we got to generate the links, and then we got to get them playing nicely together. And then we're actually going to shorten these URLs, because if you look at the lab, kind of part 1 is getting it working, part 2 is kind of making it a little bit more user friendly. So we are getting there. Let's go to our index CS/HTML, and this was a mistake putting this in a call. So the reason, everything has to start with a row. So there's one row. Let's go ahead and make another div class of row. And Control A, KF for some formatting. So now my call is in my row. I'm going to have this call take up 10 parts. And I'll have this one take up 2. So this is going to be where my categories are. Kind of looking at this, we need a little sidebar here. What did they want that sidebar to be? Just they wanted it a list, right? If I'm not mistaken, they wanted just a list here, list group, something basic like this. UL class of list group. So UL class of list group. And this is close, but we're not looping through our topics, we're looping through our categories. So let me loop through my categories in my view bag categories. Of course, I need to load up my view bag categories. Let's go back here and do the same thing. View bag categories. Okay, so we got view bag categories, so let's now loop through our categories. And this is ASP route category instead of ASP route topic. Again, that identifier should match that identifier, which matches this identifier. So ASP route category. And I'm going to change this identifier to C, because why is it T? So rename C dot category ID, and C dot name is my category name. List group item, and let's see what breaks. If I refresh, I might have to reboot it. Yep, I do. Okay, again, little formatting would go a long way, but we've got category of gen, home index category gen. Okay, so we got that working, and we got this working. Actually, it does work out of the box, even though I didn't make a route for it. Noticed here, this is doing both. So if I say general, and then I select Blazor, because it's kind of defaulting to a query string, but I want to put that in a route instead of putting that in the query string. And so pretty close to being done with that. So we'll kind of pause. All right, one person noticed that it's kind of working. If you go one way, if you go here and then if you go general and then you go Blazor, it does filter it down to just the one general Blazor. But if you go the other way, Blazor and then general, it doesn't work. It does work the other way for you? Okay. Well, it's not for many people. So here's how we're going to code to kind of fix that. If we select a topic, I'm going to store that topic in view bag, and then I'm going to append that to my link if I then click general. And so let me show you, let's go to the home controller first. And if there's a topic, I'm going to set my view bag selected topic equal to topic. And once I've created this storage for my topic, and this might be empty, this might be null or what have you, we can back in my index on my category links. So here's my category links. I can also set the ASP route topic equal to @view bag selected topic. Okay, now I also want to flush out our last route. Our last route is going to be both topic and category. And so I don't think as of right now that would fix the problem. I do think I need to add this one more route, but let's test it. I don't think if I go all FAQs, Blazor, Gen, okay, that did fix it because it's close enough. But I do want to put this actually out of the query string. Now if I go Blazor General, this is ASP General, ASP History. Okay, let's flush this out. We're almost there. I want to add one more route that can handle both at the same time, so we get it out of that query. So app map controller route. Category and topic. So I'm going to say pattern controller is home. And then you could put them in either order. You could put category first. I'll put topic first because I put topic first in my method. I'm going to put topic first. Controller? I did that yesterday. Okay. So with that, following that kind of pattern, we should be able to say slash home index topic Blazor category hist, and there you get it. Right? So now if I go back to all FAQs, general Blazor, general ASP core, yeah. So so notice, let's see. Sometimes, yeah, it's like when does it reset it? So if I say general and I click Blazor, it loses the category of general, but then you could filter it down. If you go Entity Framework, it loses the category. I think that's how I would expect it, right?
So you got to do the top one. Is there a way to make it to where you don't, where it would work either way?
Well, I think if you loaded it up in ViewBag for categories and set it that way, just how we loaded up the topics in ViewBag. So this should be working. I'll come around and help you guys out. All right, so I just went back and double checked the specifications, and it basically says when you click a category and then a topic, it'll filter by both. Or if you click a topic and then a category, it'll filter by both. And so I just wanted to double check that that's the way the mine was currently working, and it is. And so I thought I had I thought for a minute there it wasn't working both ways, but however it is. Now, the last kind of requirement here is this piece here, lowercase with trailing slashes. And that's just a line, it's a one-liner inside of Program CS. So if I close all tabs, open up Program CS, what is that one-liner? After here, say it's a one-liner, but builder, services, add routing, options arrow, curlies, options lowercase URLs, and append trailing slashes, semicolon. Takes care of lowercase URLs with trailing slashes. So if I refresh that, now anytime you change program.cs, it is going to require a reboot. So let me close that down and relaunch it. To see lowercase URLs and trailing slashes. And then last but not least, to update the application, to shorten the URL, localhost doesn't really matter the port number. So filtering by topic, it should just be /topic. In other words, we're getting rid of the home index right now in part of our URL. Everything is /home/index, and we're basically that's unnecessary. We don't need /home/index. And so we're going to do that with attribute routing. And so let's open up our home controller. Yes.
I'm sorry, could you show the thing where you made it lowercase?
Right here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so to the requirements, it says on initial load, all FAQs. Which is kind of already what it's doing. On initial load. We've already got that. You could add an attribute route for the root, and that's effectively going to do the same thing. So let me launch that. Again, just adding that route attribute. Okay, so that's all good. If we want this to also be the route for the category, you can add multiple of these. So we're going to say route category / category. So this it's essentially the same thing as what we have over here, but we don't have the home index anymore inside of Program CS. We're essentially putting this part of the URL on that method, and that should allow us, if I refresh again, I'll pull that up here real quick. That should allow us to /category /hist, and now we hit that. And notice our categories can now be shortened. Of course, it works for topic as well.
What does the question mark at the end of that do again? Like if you were to put category in the brackets, but with the question
It means, yeah, that means that really we shouldn't have these question marks here. Really, they should be required. So that just makes it optional. So curly's means dynamic, question mark means optional. But if you're going to that URL, you do need to provide a category. So you could just take those question marks off. It should not be optional, in other words. Right? So back to home controller. Now we should be able to go /topic/topic and boot that up. /topic/BLZ. And that's all good. And now one at a time are being shortened, but we gotta write the route for both. Atticus, you had a question?
I'm sorry, what's the difference those lines of code are making?
Yes. And so let me kind of go home and take a look at my URL. It used to be /home/index/category/gen, right? So we just got rid of that unnecessary portion of the URL. Thank you for asking. And if we want a route that does both, we're going to do topic/topic/category/category. And again, these just shorten it all up.
That's why it's not working, because you don't have to read it.
Okay, and so that is the end of 6.2. It says, note, to make this work, you need to apply multiple attributes to the index action method of the home controller, including the attribute for the default route. Be sure to apply the attributes in the correct order from most to least specific. And that is the end. Of course, you could style it the way you want, but getting the functionality, it is now in there.